Star Trek, the next generation. You're loved throughout the nation. You're my favourite show. Was in every episode you're lucky. You don't have to wait for buses. You just step into the transporter and off you boldly go. Mr. Wall's my favourite person.
Welcome to the bOrgCast. We are the Org, and our purpose is to assimilate seasons 2 to 7 of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Hello, friend.
Hello.
And a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We raise a beer in your general direction. I hope your 2013 is going well so far. We've pretty much started ours with Star Trek. It's the best way to start a year, I can't help feeling. Some interesting stuff came up after our Christmas episode. There's a possible answer from Gates McFadden as to why she disappeared in season 2.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, she was at a convention and they put the answers that she gave up at it. And it transpires that one of the writers did not like her.
Oh.
And therefore pressured for her to leave. Now, Dimbo Sama.
Yep.
Of the parish of Tumblr.
The parish of Tumblr.
Has pointed out that Maurice Hurley is the culprit, apparently.
Oh.
And when he left at the end of season 2, Gates McFadden came back again. So, does rather suggest, yes.
Yes, it does, actually, yeah.
So that would explain that little mystery. And also on the internet, there's just of late... There's a lot of them on Tumblr at the moment, and I'm sure you can find them fairly easily on YouTube. Season 2 outtakes. Every time the new Blu-rays come out, they come with outtakes, and people start putting them up. Very fantastic they are too. Most amusing.
You know we got money for Christmas.
I don't think it's really worth buying the Blu-rays just for outtakes. Shiny though the picture quality is.
They look shiny.
They look very shiny, but they're blooming expensive.
Still?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Season 1's still expensive.
Oh, yeah, it will be for at least another year. And, there's nothing wrong with the DVDs. So there we go.
But they got new stuff.
Not much new stuff. Some new stuff, but not much new stuff.
Sad face.
Sad face. You're going to start a charity drive, are you? No, we are not asking for your money. Okay. Let's start with our first episode of 2013, which is Hollow Pursuit.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation, a serious accident releases highly toxic chemicals.
Begin evacuation of secondary hull.
And contamination ignites a chain reaction that's tearing up the Enterprise.
Controls are not responding, sir.
Now the crew faces destruction at breakneck speed.
We can't shut it down, Captain. She's accelerating out of control.
On the next exciting episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, that's a new low for Trailer Guy.
Yeah.
Within seconds, he's
Spoiler!
spoiled the plot. Plus, Barclay doesn't get mentioned once during that.
And also he says in the next exciting episode, and I'm sitting there thinking, it would have been bloody exciting if you hadn't spoiled it.
It's a good job we watched the episode first, isn't it?
Yeah,
Dear,
I'm
dear.
really glad we do it that way round.
Yes.
I'm thinking of renaming him Trailer Git instead of Trailer Guy.
He's getting that way, isn't it?
Okay, you start with, he's 10 forward, it's Lieutenant Barclay, but I don't think at this stage you know his name. And he fights Geordi and Riker, and Troi is seductively exposing her legs in black tights rather than the sort of trouser things. You know, oh, bloody.
You see why this episode made an impression on me when I first saw it.
Did you like the Goddess of Empathy?
Not so much, actually.
Good, I'm relieved.
It's what she's wearing, but we'll come on to that.
Right. Anyway, and she's all horny for Barclay, and he's, he fights Geordi, he fights Riker and everything, and then he has to say, save program, if you hadn't already guessed that this wasn't real. And he has to go to engineering, and he's always late. He has the nickname, thanks to Wesley, of Broccoli, and he's meek, and he's nervous, and he stammers.
He's got Dwight Schultz for 'Tis He from 18.
I was going to say, it's just such a difference from...
Yeah, a different guy. I mean, he's a great actor, and the way he portrays Barclay in real life with all his nervous tweaks. I don't mean
Twitches?
Twitches, tweaks. Yes.
Ticks,
that was the word I was looking for.
Okay.
Then when he portrays him in the holodeck as confident and swaggering, and it's just brilliant. I mean, it's the same. You can tell it's the same person, But it's done very well. Very impressive.
Very well. So, anyway, that's the teaser. And then after the teaser, Picard tells them they're on a mission to some gibberish planet with some gibberish name to help with some gibberish fever. What you can get out of the technobabble is special tissues help fever. So they have special tissues to help fever, but their anti-grav unit, something goes wrong.
Do you think Barclay has special tissues as well? Sorry.
I hope for his sake he doesn't use the ones with TCP in. Oh, you're grim. Anyway, one of the canisters opens and some gassy stuff comes out and it's contaminated. And then you get a broken anti-grav unit. But then they're like, oh no, there's another container gone. And I'm thinking, if you know the anti-grav unit's fucking broken, why aren't you putting dummies on there, you total and utter dipshits?
They seem a bit stupid.
They are a bit. Anyway, Geordie's had enough of Broccoli being late all the time. And so's Riker as well. So they go to Picard, who very sensibly says it is far too easy to transfer the problem somewhere else, tells Geordie to be Broccoli's best friend.
Basically, up until the moment when Picard pipes up, you've got Geordie and Riker dissing Barclay. And he's just not up to scratch. He's not Enterprise material. And they don't say it, but they may as well say, we're the best of the best of the best.
Sir.
Yes. Yeah, quite. So it's kind of nice to find somebody who isn't Mr. Perfect. And actually, give him his due, the captain's like, we need to put some effort in as well, and we might be able to get this guy to fit in, which is like, yeah, that's the attitude to have. Bless him. It's just a shame that it's him that puts his foot in it a little while later.
Yes.
Because he's picked up the nickname Broccoli.
Yes.
Thanks to Wesley. Yes, then unfortunately the captain uses the nickname later on by accident.
He does. So, LaForge responds by inviting Barclay to a briefing. And he looks like he's going to be late, but he arrives just in time. But he stammers and he stutters. And so Wes jumps in, which actually made me cross.
It was true to the character.
Oh, very much so.
He's Mr. Clever Clogs and he's going to do that sort of thing. But,
he wasn't giving Barclay a chance.
Yes, as Geordie points out later on.
Yeah. So that made me cross. And you might have been supposed to feel that Barclay's even more rubbish, but actually I just wanted to slap Wesley at that point. So it looks like he's going to see Troi to go and talk about just how disproportionately upset he was by Wes's intervention, except it all gets a bit sexy. Mm-hmm. And it's obviously on the holodeck. Mm. And then they're on the holodeck again, and you've got Troi going, I am the goddess of empathy. And it's just like, what? Yeah, this is bad. He's spending too much time in the holodeck.
Falling asleep on the holodeck as well.
Yeah. Data wants to know, why is Lieutenant Barclay being clandestinely referred to as vegetable? It's broccoli. Because a few of them are gravity 10 forward. And then Duffy's glass goes all funny.
Duffy, we get speaking engineers in this.
I know.
Which is massive progress from last time.
Yes.
Duffy seems obviously a very minor part, but kind of an interesting character. And obviously Barclay is brilliant.
Yeah. So they've now got to... They think there might be some sort of connection between what's wrong with the transporter. They've got to do a check on all the power systems, and Barclay had already thought of that, which shows that Picard is right, that potentially Barclay has something to offer.
Yeah.
But he's not answering. No one can find him, so Geordie goes to find him, and he just goes into the holodeck. And I just makes me think again, where is the privacy?
Yeah, no.
Or if
it happens twice in the episode. People walk in on, and it could have been a lot messier than it was.
I know, but the thing is, they've walked in on Picard.
Yeah.
You think Riker's
why are there no
had
locks
sexy
on the damn
fantasy?
doors?
Or the other alternative would be an alarm that goes off to let whoever's got. If the thinking is, look, if we need to get hold of somebody urgently, we have to be able to go into the holodeck and get them. Fine. But the action of someone else coming into the holodeck should trigger an alarm.
Or they should be able to communicate with anybody who's in the holodeck.
Or just turn the programme off, let's face it.
Before they enter or something.
Yeah.
Yes, possibly, although that could still leave somebody a bit naked. But, just say, rather than keep walking in to say, contact Lieutenant Barclay in the holodeck. would be a lot easier than actually doing it in person.
I don't know. But
even if he hasn't got a communicator on him, just make an announcement. I mean, we can do that in department stores if something gets lost. Why can't they do it in the holodeck?
Call for Barclay on line 2.
Is it clean up in aisle 4? Sorry.
Oh, dear. Thankfully, Geordie isn't judgmental. And so he and Barclay end up in 10 forward drinking warm milk. Because earlier Geordie spoke to Guinan, who had the same...
opened Geordie's mind to things.
Yeah, and Guinan had the same take as Picard, really. But phrased it in a different way. And he says...
You don't know what a struggle this has been for me, Commander. Well, I'd like to help if I can. Being afraid all of the time of forgetting somebody's name, not knowing what to do with your hands. I mean, I am the guy who writes down things to remember to say when there's a party. And then when he finally gets there, he winds up alone in the corner, trying to look comfortable, examining a potted plant. You're just shy, Barclay. Just shy. Sounds like nothing serious, doesn't it? You can't know.
It's interesting that a bit later on, Barclay says that the people in the holodeck feel more real to him than everybody else, apart from Geordie. And I do wonder whether that's because Geordie says, well, I fell in love in the holodeck, which is a callback to the episode with Leah Brahms in. Although I can't remember the episode's name.
Booby Trap.
Thank you. Booby, even.
Yes.
Right. So call back to Booby.
The smart factor 5 is in effect, obviously,
it is a bit,
today.
Really, yes. But then Geordie says, I fell in love on the holodeck once, but I knew when to shut it down and walk away. And I couldn't help it. I sat there and thought, I bet you bloody didn't. I bet you're lying.
Really? Well, we know he didn't delete it because it comes up later on.
I know, but I just thought, I bet you're wrong. I bet you're not. But it was interesting that actually Geordie hasn't actually had to put in an awful lot of effort on already...
Yeah,
Reg is
connecting.
Is connecting and responding, but he gets told to go and talk to Troi, and he's like, no. He goes in, he gets really anxious, and Troy's saying things like, "Oh, can I help you? I'm just going to turn the lights down, and let you relax." So he automatically crosses his legs in a really sort of, oh dear. And she does some, relax and breathe, and he's like, in through the nose and out through the mouth, and he's like, "Yes, that helps. Okay, thank you very much. Bye." And he runs out and he makes this lovely little noise as he nearly walks into
another female crew member.
Thank you again.
Oh, you just want to give him a hug.
You do. So then he's in the holodeck again when he shouldn't be. And everybody's getting really cross. And this time Riker's like, I've had enough. So it's Riker and Geordie and Troi who all go into the holodeck. Because he should have been at a briefing at 1400 and isn't. And then they come across the Three Musketeers, which is the second time that they've seen them, which is Geordie and Data and Picard. And actually, Picard somehow looks better in all that foppish stuff, doesn't he? It really suits him somehow. And then, you've got Wesley as a recalcitrant kid eating far too much pie.
Yeah, he's straight from a Gainsborough painting.
Yeah. And then they say, well, if you won't fight, you must meet number one. And number one is clumsy and useless and rubbish.
And he's really short as well.
Yes.
Tiny Riker is tiny.
And so Riker's understandably cross. And Troy's like, oh, come on, you're really tall. That could be intimidating. Try to have a sense of humour. And then she encounters the goddess of empathy. And she's very angry. And she tries to delete it. And Riker's like, no, come on, healthy fantasy life. Try to have a sense of humour. So she walks up to her hollow recreation and says, muzzle it. They find Barclay lying in Beverly's dress, snoring. But they get him to the briefing and engineering, and he comes up with the answer. Everybody else is going, can't be this, can't be that, can't be that. And he stammers and he stutters, but eventually he manages to get out, well, look, we're looking for something systemic. What if it isn't? What if it's us?
Mm-hmm. Which is a nice little, it's not. It doesn't baffle you with technobabble because you can quite easily grasp the idea that actually it's not a technical problem in the ship. It's actually the crew that are transmitting the problem to the various systems they're working on. So actually, it's I love this episode. It's really well written.
It is. It's good. And then you get the scene that Trailer Man spoiled for us.
Yes. Yeah, the bit that it starts the trailer with.
I know. Awful. Where, yes, Barclay's right. And so he's able to save the day. And it's like, yeah, he does belong on the Enterprise. He might have all sorts of issues. Makes me wonder what Roddenberry thought of this episode.
Yes, this is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because supposedly everybody's perfect in the future, but Barclay clearly isn't.
But he still has something to offer.
Indeed. Obviously, Roddenberry wasn't paying quite so much attention by this point.
Maybe he was on holiday.
Maybe he wasn't well.
But and then at the end, Barclay he seems to be saying goodbye to the crew, but in fact, he's saying goodbye to his hollow recreations. And he asks the computer to delete them all. And then he gives a cheeky grin and says, "Except Program 9.
And you're thinking, what's Program 9? The mud wrestling Troi one, maybe? When I first saw this in my teenage years with hormones a go-go, it was like, I want a holodeck!
Yeah.
And for this reason. Oh dear. The holodeck scenes, because obviously, actually, for the most part, this is actually a bottleneck show. It's all set on the Enterprise, except for all the holodeck scenes, which are very artfully done on this sort of Gainsborough painting type thing. And I mean, it's a set, clearly.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's got such a surreal atmosphere about it that it actually kind of works as an artificial setting.
Yeah.
So that was really good, I thought. Dwight Schultz is just absolutely brilliant.
He is.
He'd been a lifelong Star Trek fan, and he was badgering the producers to let him on, and he got Whoopi Goldberg on his side too, because she was a friend of hers, and that's how it all came together. I mean, and obviously he makes such an impression in the story that they get him back again in future, which is brilliant.
Yes, I can remember some of them.
Yes. Yes, we got a bit of continuity of Leia Brahms being mentioned from Booby Trap.
Yep.
And there we are. Shall we find out what Mr. Pieman has to say?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, but find out, by the way, thanks to, I think it was a tweet he put on. He's the Pieman's a captain of a Miranda-class ship. Reliant out of Star Trek 2. Khan's ship. The squatter. Oh, I'll show you a picture later on. Good grief. I taught you nothing. It's not in real life, clearly. He's on these online game things.
Okay.
Okay. I wish I never brought it up now. Anyway, Pieman has this to say. The episode that introduces us to Reg Barclay. Good teaser, which had me genuinely confused on first watching. The episode itself is fun. Dwight Schultz does a great job of giving Barclay nearly 2 different personalities in and out of the holodeck, but never makes Barclay annoying. Meanwhile, his holodeck fantasies are fun, particularly Midget Picard. Overall, the crisis is more or less a plot device and is of little consequence beyond creating difficulties. If I was to criticise, I would say that the main cast get a bit sidelined in favour of guest star, but that is it. Overall, a good, fun episode. From this and other episodes, it does appear that there are no laws or safeguards against reproducing actual people on the holodeck, but rather it seems to be more of a something that just isn't done. More good manners than actually illegal. I seem to remember a Deep Space Nine subplot where one of Quark's clients wanted Kira in a holosuite program.
Yes.
Oh, yes. I say this because I'm surprised that with the advent of holodecks, this sort of thing hasn't happened before. I've worked in many places where an opportunity to punch your boss and have illicit relationships with co-workers in a virtual environment would be far too tempting for most. I guess this is the more enlightened 24th century people, though. As a nice nod, in the recent A-Team film, there is a scene where Murdoch is broken out of prison. The ploy involves the inmates watching a film sent from Hannibal. In the opening credits of this film, the first actor's name to appear on screen is Reginald Barclay, which I thought was a lovely nod to Schultz playing the original Murdoch role. I did not notice that. Oh, how cool is that? I should be looking for it, because of course he actually appears right at the end, doesn't he, after the credits.
Yeah.
A-Team film was surprisingly good, actually.
It is. I like it.
I wasn't expected to like it at all, but there we go. Splendid stuff. So yes, he seemed to like it too, and quite rightly so. Okay, we'll move on to the most toys.
Next time on Star Trek: The Next Generation.
What am I doing here?
Commander Data is held hostage by powerful aliens.
If I help you escape, will you take me with you?
Will he break free and survive his capture? Or will he face death trying to escape?
No life signs.
Find out on the next exciting episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
So that's another fairly spoilery teaser there. I don't know how it's probably not that obvious in audio, but a few deaths kept heavily
visually,
signposted.
yeah.
Hey ho. Data's transporting some element or other that's highly explosive, which is needed to prevent some sort of a environmental catastrophe on some planets, and he's doing it on a shuttle pod called the Pike, which is a nice Star Trek reference to the past.
I noticed it. Did you notice that I noticed?
I was very impressed.
Do I get geek points?
You get geek points for that.
Thank
Well done. And he's transporting it from a collector come trader called Kivas Farjo. And he shipped the Jovis, which is a design we've seen before, but you can look on the Tumblr page for more about that. Data is zapped, which is a bit of a shame, really, because it kind of spoils the teaser, because in some ways...
It does, yes.
The teaser would have been better if the shuttle pod had gone out and exploded, as it does, and you didn't see Data getting zapped, because you know damn well that Data wasn't on that shuttle when it exploded.
Yeah.
So it does rather give the game away. But never mind. Their fault for spoiling a perfectly good teaser.
They do that a lot.
So now Data's set to be part of Kivas Farjo's collection. He collects one-offs. He's got a little hand puppet creature thing that is probably the main weak point of the episode, but thankfully we don't see too much of it. Various works of art. He's got a Dali and all sorts there.
He's got a baseball card that still smells of bubblegum.
Baseball again, please. Anyway, and he makes it quite clear he's going to do his best to escape, and Kivas Farjo isn't going to give him the option. Farjo insists that he wears a
really awful lilac outfit.
Yeah, outfit. And unsurprisingly, Data says no, but basically Kivas spills some sort of acidy stuff on it that dissolves the costume, so Data has to wear it. And then he brings a fellow collector over.
Who looks, that was one of the few nights they made, was weird. What the fuck?
Pale Toff. Yeah, the makeup in this is pretty weird.
Oh, it's not just weird. I mean, if you don't actually watch the episode, I know some people just listen and they haven't been able to see, right? This
Again,
guy...
There's been a picture up already on the Tumblr page.
Fine, yeah. I mean, weird fuck shit bits of metal, too many nostrils and holes, just crap. Just absolute
bizarre.
Fucking crap. I mean, bizarre is fine. Some aliens are supposed to look bizarre. This is just shit.
Yes. It's a nice moment at one point where the actor's quite good. He makes his most of it. And at one point he picks one of his nostrils, which is quite good.
Yeah.
And Kivas presents his new item of his collection, but Data just stays stock still. And even when Farjo pushes him, he just falls over as if he were a mannequin, which is what Palortov assumes.
I do wonder how they did that. Did they have a mannequin, or is Brent Spiner
I think it must have been a mannequin, because it felt really...
The way it fell for a human being to fight the instinct to put your hands out.
And Data can't escape because the combination of the door is too heavy for him to move, plus Kivas has got this weird personal force field thing, so every time Data tries and touches it, he gets zapped, basically. And Data tries to make friends with Kivas, this kind of sort of second-in-command type person, one of his servants anyway, called Varia. There's an interesting suggestion at one point that, she's got a very strange-looking face, makeup.
She has, yeah.
And there's a suggestion at one point that that's a result of Kivas' punishment to have disobeying him. But the problem is that it being Star Trek, you can't decide whether that's the reason or whether she's just an alien. So, in a way...
No, you just sat there thinking, did somebody write that in when they saw the shit makeup job?
Kivas then gets Data to behave on a later occasion by threatening to shoot Varia, who's unsurprisingly doesn't take this very well, and he's threatened to shoot her with a Varan T disruptor, which apparently is a particularly vicious and evil phaser that causes a great deal of pain before the poor person dies. But Data tries to collude with Varia to escape. Once her life's been under threat, she realises she hasn't got anything to lose, and she may as well try as well. In the meantime, on the Enterprise, Geordi is not taking Data's death well, obviously, but it's nagging him. There's something not right about it, and we get a scene of him lying on his bed
in his uniform,
supposedly asleep, but in his uniform. Do they not have PJs in the 24th century? Very odd. And
also he's lying on the covers.
Yes, rather than under them.
And they're horribly shiny, in the same way as Babylon 5 ones are horribly, and you just expect them to fall off. And they've got this
frictionless sheets.
Yes! Ray! And they've got this really hard block of a thing as a pillow. And you just look at it and think, at what point does humanity lose the ability to understand the concept of a bed?
Yeah. Anyway, Suspicious Geordi is suspicious. Meanwhile, there's a very nice scene, which you didn't like at all, between...
Sorry, I didn't.
Worf
has
taken on Data's duties on Ops, which there's a discussion between Picard and Riker suggests it, and Picard says, yes, that's the right decision. It's the right decision in a way because it's a job that Worf has done before, because in the first season, before he replaced Yar at Tactical, he was at Ops. But, having said that, you'd have thought Klingon, he's best at Tactical, surely. I mean, that's surely where he's always going to excel. But anyway, all very strange. Troi takes him aside and says,
Your first watch at Ops?
I have served at the position before.
I've been concerned about you.
About me? Why?
Because I know how I'd feel if I was asked to replace Data at his station.
Bridge. Promotion due to the death of a crewmate is commonplace on Klingon ships.
I know, but this isn't a Klingon ship. And Data was your friend. And it's the second time you've replaced a crewmate who's died.
I honor Data's memory, as I did Lieutenant Yar's, by attempting to perform their duties as well as they did.
In true Klingon fashion.
I appreciate your concern.
That is his way of saying, I'm not like you. This is my way of dealing with grief.
No, but he does kind of say thank you for asking. There's a lovely
Well, see,
smile
I would have just fuck punched her because I just thought, bitch. I thought she's so fucking patronising and she's so unaccepting of anybody doing anything in any way that isn't hers.
She doesn't deliver the line well, it has to be said. But there is a lovely moment of he
There's
smiles
not
at her.
a lovely moment of anything.
There is. He smiles
She
at her.
needs bitch slapping.
And when he's left the turbolift, then she's got a big smile on her face. It's like, aww. So the
it's not.
It's like the first moment of connection between the two.
Oh,
of them.
they never should have fucking connected in the first place.
You can see, dear listener, this is going to build up to a disagreement later on, but there we go.
Oh, no, I mean, I don't have a problem with the idea that Worf understands Troi's intentions are good.
Yes.
I have a problem with anybody being the counsellor on the flagship of the Federation, not accepting that different people have different ways of dealing with grief, and just because they're not doing it your way doesn't mean it's wrong, bitch.
Basically, they arrive at the planet they're due to be curing this environmental disaster on, and they launch the stuff they got off Farjo, but it's all happening a bit quickly, all clearing up, and they can still detect the source of it, and they beam down and discover basically it's been artificially generated, and Dr. Crusher says, well, you know, that's a crazy plan because it's so dangerous, so expensive, and when Picard gets the computer to give a sort of personal profile of Farjo, it mentions he's an avid collector, and then all the pieces click into place, and off they go to try and find Farjo. In the meantime, Data and Vari are trying to escape. They've gone to the shuttle bay. In opening the shuttle doors, that sets off an alarm. A couple of the crew come charging in, and Data has to deal with them. Farjo appears and basically zaps Varia with one of his nasty Varanti disruptors, melting her in the process. And Data picks up the Varanti that she was holding, points it at Farjo, and Farjo's like, you're not going to shoot me, you know, you're this moral being that's been programmed not to do any harm, so therefore you won't harm me, you're not a threat. And the Enterprise arrives, beams Data aboard, and the interesting bit is that O'Brien notices as he's transporting Data that a discharged phaser in the transporter beam, so they undo the effects of that, because otherwise it'd be a bit dangerous, otherwise Data beaming up and zapping Riker or something. And Riker says, were you firing a phaser? And Data says, well, no, it must be some sort of mistake in
and that for me doesn't work,
no.
Because Data says just before he fires, I cannot permit this situation to continue. Kivas Farzo keeps going on and on and on and on to Data about murder. Murder, very specific. I don't know about other countries, okay, but very specifically in English law, murder is unjustified killing. And Data is not committing murder because he says, I cannot permit this situation to continue, and then fires, i.e. it is justified killing. So it might be manslaughter, it might be execution, it is not murder. You might not like it, you might not agree with it, but the point is it is not murder. Data is in Starfleet. He has already decided, by nature of being in Starfleet, that killing is on specific occasions justified, because he will have pressed the fire phaser buttons on the Enterprise on occasion. He's already had that logical debate within himself, and he decides that killing Kivas Farjo is justified. I agree with him. What I don't like about the way the episode is written is that an android who can't lie is suddenly prevaricating.
Indeed he is. And the smudgy ending is as a result of both the writer and Brent Spiner wanted it to be plain that actually Data had killed Kivas Farjo. But the producers didn't like that. They wanted to be more ambiguous. Now, the problem is it can't be ambiguous because the phaser has been discharged. Therefore, it leaves it a bit of a mess with Data saying, well, actually, I didn't fire, which is like, well,
no,
that's
did.
lying to Riker.
And if it was a weapon with a stun setting, you know that Data would have toned it down, and all he would have done is incapacitated him.
Dear listener, this is edited highlights of a very long discussion we had about what constitutes murder in these situations, and I'm not sure. But the bottom line is that the ending is slightly murky, and it's slightly murky not as a result of the writer, or indeed the actor, but as a result of the producer. The powers that be decided they wanted it to be a little more murky at the end, and it's slightly unsatisfactory outcome as a result. Because ultimately, as you say, Data didn't have any choice, because otherwise Farja did threaten to go through his entire crew. Well, Data can't allow that to happen. He's only got a weapon that kills, not a weapon that stuns. So maybe I could be. I
mean, there is another possibility, and it did make me cross that Data didn't threaten it, because Data should be intelligent enough to do so. And that is quite simply, he takes his Veron T disruptor, he walks into Farjo's collection and destroys the chair or a model.
Which ultimately is kind of what he does, because the final scene is Data goes and visits Farjo, who's now in the brig, and Farjo says, the roles have been reversed. But ultimately, I'll have you in my collection some point in the future. And Data says, well, you no longer have a collection. We've basically given it back to its original owners. So everything you've had is now lost. So he hasn't destroyed the collection, because clearly that would be awful, because there's not only antiques, but there's the last of a particular species there. They've made sure they've all been returned. Yeah,
but he could have destroyed, as a choice between taking life and destroying an object. He could have destroyed an object. My argument is that Data is capable of calculating risk in microseconds.
Well, he does say, I cannot allow this to continue. So
yeah, but he's capable of calculating risk in microseconds, and there was clearly more risk that other people would be shot by Kivas if he got his disruptor back.
So ultimately, it's a murky ending, and some of the makeup decisions are very, very odd.
Yeah, really.
But the story itself is really, really good. It's a fairly simple premise.
Yeah.
What would push Data to make that decision, and what would happen if Data was incarcerated and the crew didn't know, they thought that he was dead. So, generally a very good story, just slightly messed up at the end. But other than that, I really enjoyed it.
I didn't like Troi.
It was, I can kind of see what you're getting at. It wasn't the best delivered line, but I can also kind of see what the writers were trying to get at, which was her concern for him, and him basically saying, "Don't worry about it, I'm a Klingon." We're used to this sort of thing. There we go. Let's see what Pieman has to say. A very nice idea for an episode. Farjo is suitably creepy and a well-realised baddie. Actually, I should have said earlier that, famously about this story, the guy who was originally going to play Kivas Farjo was a British guy who was in the Time Bandits, and they'd filmed some of it, and he made a suicide attempt.
Oh, gosh.
Ended up in hospital, so they had to emergency recast, and the guy they got in, Saul Rubinek, he's a really, really good actor.
He is.
He had very little time to prepare for this. It was literally a last-minute thing. He comes up later. I recognised him, and he's in Frasier.
Oh, okay.
He's Daphne's fiancé at one point.
Okay.
He's also in Nixon as well.
Is he?
Yes, I recognised his face from that.
I knew I recognised his face, but couldn't place it.
Sadly, the original actor was a British guy that they got lined up. He later did another suicide attempt, which was successful. So it's quite tragic, really.
Yeah.
But there we go. Anyway, back to Pieman's feedback. It is also nice to see the crew solve the mystery of Data's disappearance. They are supposed to be the best the Federation has to offer, so it fits that collectively they can see through Farjo's subterfuge. Oh, I do like that word, subterfuge. Finally, the scene at the end, where the only thing that stops Data killing Farjo is intervention of the crew, is chilling from either the point of view that Data was showing some emotion, or indeed from Data merely deciding that Farjo should be killed through pure logic. Either way, very good ending to a solid episode. There's another emotional moment for Data, ironically, at the end as well, isn't it?
Oh! You come to see me repent? It's your final satisfaction? Want to see me beg for mercy? You're not going to get any of that from me.
I expected nothing.
Our roles are reversed. Aren't they, Data? You're the collector now. Me, I'm in a cage.
So it seems.
Just don't count me out too quickly. I had you in my collection once. I can have you there again.
Unlikely, sir. Your collection has been confiscated. All of your stolen possessions are being returned to their rightful owners. You have lost everything you value.
It must give you great pleasure.
No, sir. It does not. I do not feel pleasure. I am only an android.
It does a massive close-up, and Brent Spiner just puts that little teensy bit of emotion in his face.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder.
Yeah.
So it's very cleverly done.
Yeah.
Very cleverly done on that side of things. So yes, definitely I agree with Pie Man. A solid episode. Very good. Okay, speaking of solid episodes, wow. Next time, which I've got us down as Monday the 14th.
This because of various commitments we both have. That was the best date.
Okay, so in a bit sooner you'll get the next bOrgCast, although the one after that will be a bit later thanks to me being away for a bit. So Monday the 14th of January we'll be covering Sarek.
Ooh,
which
Mark
is,
Leonard.
Yes, Mark Leonard's, and another standout season 3 episode, if my memory isn't playing tricks with me. And Menage a Troi, Ferengi episode.
Okay.
You're still looking blank. Riker and
No,
Troi.
don't tell me if I don't know.
Okay,
Get me
fine.
to do it.
Okay, you do. You do that one. I'll do Sarek, and try not to blub. Okay, if you'd like to send us some feedback, feel free. Where you can do so via the Geek Planet online forums. I'm Rev_org on Twitter.
I'm Ammo_purple.
We have our Tumblr page, bOrgCast.tumblr.com. And I'm on, you can send me an MP3 or an email at revpeterorgan@yahoo.co.uk. Jobs are good on 2 rather splendid episodes this time round.
Yes.
Starting 2013.
2015?
I nearly said 2015. I'm
You're
wishing my life
jumping ahead
away.
a bit. Bloody hell.
Time traveller. Isn't 2015 the Back to the Future year? I think it possibly is. But anyway.
Maybe you're trying to wish away the year in which you're
Great
40.
Scott, Marty!
The year in which he's 40.
Yes.
Hint, hint. Are you wishing that away, perhaps?
Yeah, thanks for that kind reminder. Oh, man. Anyway, there we go. So, it's a good way to start 2013.
Yes.
Was what I was trying to say. Meh. Cheery bye.
Bye. The bOrgCast is brought to you by those lovely purple people at Geek Planet Online. The song at the opening of this podcast was written and performed by Adam Buxton and is used with his kind permission.